Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Digital to Dice podcast. I am Dave.
I am Ron.
Ron, what episode is this?
This is a Diamond Jubilee episode, Your Majesty. It's number 75.
75 episodes of the Digital to Dice podcast. Not too bad.
Not too bad at all.
Not too bad. And what are we going to be talking about today?
We're going to be talking about preplays or one-offs or tribute games and some of the good things and some of the pitfalls of trying to replicate a single event.
Yep. And we'll have some Super Bowl talk as well.
Yes.
We'll have our final thoughts on that. And all kinds of other goodies here on episode, what again?
75. The Diamond Jubilee episode, Your Majesty. You're going to like that a little too much.
All right.
What? No, sorry.
All right. Well, let's get into first things first.
And Becky, that's not a diamond ring they gave you when you left the Kuhau. It's cubic zirconium.
Cubic zirconia is good. My grandparents used to watch that channel all day long. And, look at this one. This is so nice. I'm going to call up.
In 10-karat white gold, only for 4 easy payments of $4.95.
Now, who do we got? We got Rita in Massachusetts. Rita, welcome to the show. Hi, I just love this. Oh, my grandkids are going to love this. Oh, really? You're going to give them to all your grandkids? Oh, yeah. We're going to get 6 of them. Gee, thanks. We used to watch the show to make sure they weren't buying stuff for us. And then we'd call up and say, no, please don't.
Roughly about 30 years ago when I had cable, late at night on one of those channels, they would sell boxes of unopened baseball cards.
Oh, wow.
They're like $5. I don't know how much it was going to cost to ship, but because I was a dumb, poor kid living on my own, I didn't have a credit card. They wouldn't take a check, or else I'd have gotten, 3 boxes of these 1987 tops for $4 a box. But That's how much of that crap they printed. It went on to Grandma's Shopping Channel.
Yeah.
I know you want this. That's what they should call it, Grandma's Shopping Channel. Oh, look, Davey.
Oh, yeah. I remember, I think I might have told the story once before. When I was a kid, 5 years old, early 70s, we walked down to the local drugstore. That's where we buy our baseball cards, hockey cards, whatever.
Right.
They were 10, 15 cents,
Oh, sure.
And I remember I walked in one day with a friend of mine. He was a year older than me. And so I bought a couple of packs. And he pulls out a $5 bill, which in 1972, 73, 74, whatever the hell that was.
Oh, that's $50.
Yeah. And he bought a whole box of cards. And I just was like, wow, where did you get $5, And he bought a whole box, and we went back to his house, and I just sat there watching him open pack after pack after pack. It was like, it was so cool. It was like, oh, man.
Little did you know you could do that experience 1,000 times over on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah. And who would have known? I mean, if he still had them all, it might be worth something. I still have some of mine somewhere, but
yeah,
it is kind of
awesome.
fun. So anyway, all right. So episode 75 of Digital to Dice podcast. Oh, ways to get a hold of us. We should do that too. Ways to get a hold of us. Our website is digitaltodice.com. digitaltodice.com. The dice line 978-751-DICE 978-751-3423. If you'd like to send us an email, digitaltodice@yahoo.com is how you can get a hold of us. And over on Facebook, facebook.com/groups/digital-to-dice. And if you want some gear, we have some gear available on cafepress.com/digital-to-dice. If you want to pick up a mug or a mouse pad or glass or a t-shirt or something like that with the podcast logo on it. So anyway, we'll get right into what we're playing, and then we'll get to the topic at hand. Let me see. I pulled out my Hockey Blast mat from Ink Gaming and put it on the table, and it's been there a week, and I still haven't pulled out the teams to play Hockey Blast yet.
And CJ climbed on the table, and the dog had dinner on your mat.
Oh,
right?
No. I did fold it up so the dog would not get the mat, or anybody would get the mat ruined. I did fold it up, but it's just like I pulled it up about a week ago. I says, I'm going to play some Hockey Blast, blah, 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 blah. And I pulled it out and I put it up, and I just haven't got to it yet. I'm in one of those funks again, probably because of the weather here now. is I'm going out and I'm seem to be every 3 days we get snow and I got to go out and clean off the cars and snow blow or sweep or brush or shovel or something. And then I come in, I'm just kind of tired and I just kick back and I just want to watch TV or something or, a movie or something like that. So I've been spending my all my exhaustion of my energy, I guess, has been going to cleaning snow. And so when I come in, I'm like, I just don't feel like setting up anything. And I haven't even really played Gems of War much in the last few days. I just kind of kicked back and, I said I pulled out 2nd and 10. I went to play a little bit of that, and I played a quarter of somebody, and then I stopped. And it's just been, I haven't even gone back to my Celtics replay yet. I think the winter doldrums here of it being cold and dark at night, and just being tired and cold from the snow. I found myself just haven't played a heck of a lot. The only thing I did do last night on play a little bit more Franchise Hockey Manager 7. I've been playing a little bit of that. And I played this game on Steam called House of 1,000 Doors. It's kind of a puzzle, clicky type of game with a mouse. You get some puzzles you got to solve, and you got to figure out how to open this door and how to open that door. And there's a little story that goes along with it. And it was fairly easy, but it was something that kept my mind off of things, and I was able just to play and enjoy it with minimal effort last night is what I did. So I think that's about all I've really been playing. I started a lot of things. I think I fired up Strat Hockey on the PC and played a little bit, and Action PC Hockey. I did a lot of like firing up games and playing a few minutes, but I just didn't have the attention span.
You should do some golf.
Yeah, that was always fun because you could rip through a game of golf.
Because that at least would get you thinking about summer and warm weather and a tour this week at Pebble Beach and all that. So it's nice to have some golf on TV again. And so it kind of feels like you're going through, for those of us who like golf, going through the motions that it won't be endless winter. Yeah. Because I struggle with that pretty much. Well, we've done that for the last year with the virus and all that. But this is the time of year where I'm pretty much trapped indoors because ice and wheelchairs mix about as well as oil and water. Mm. And with Sarah's, my wife's issues, we just really can't get out. And so we know that's coming to an end soon, that we'll be able to get out and enjoy life here in Vermont again. But I know exactly what it is. And so, so maybe something like a warm weather sport. I know you're not a baseball fan.
Well, but I still need to get back to my payoff pitch Clemens, projects.
Right. But if you just did some golf and get your mind on it, and because, you could pretend you're in Scotland and have it golf when you're snowing. Yeah. Or when it's snowing. But, just that kind of change of mindset.
Yeah, I think the one thing I did play, and we'll talk about it when we do the pre-plays there. I did a Super Bowl pre-play with Game Winning Drive. Mm-hmm. They sent out the new Super Bowl teams because I bought the Super Bowl package, and if you buy the Super Bowl package with Downey Games, every time there's new Super Bowl teams, you get those two teams, which is kind of neat. So I remember that I did get those in before the Super Bowl, so I did play that, and I'll give you my results when we talk about that later.
Okay.
But it's a good idea is to play some warm weather stuff, hot stove stuff. Yeah.
I mean, I know you've got some Roberto Schiavini beach volleyball, I think, tucked away somewhere if you need some happier entertainment.
Beach volleyball, yeah. Men's, of course.
Of course. Dignity at all times. Dignity at all times. There you go.
All right, so what have you been playing?
What have I been playing? He changed the subject rather quick there, didn't he? Let's see. The 49 replay has now reached past Memorial Day. We're now into June. So 3 games last week, doubleheader on Monday, and that. So we got some good races shaping up. The National League is really wide open. There's 5 teams as we get past the quarter pole that have a shot. I'm afraid the Yankees are about to run away and hide in the American League. What is it about me and Red Sox? You did that 74-75 Bruins thing when they underachieved. Now I'm doing the Canadiens replay, which I just restarted on Super Bowl Sunday. They're going to win the division. Of course, in the NHL, it's the postseason that matters, not necessarily the regular season. You're going to get home ice in the first round anyway. But this is my 3rd streamed baseball season replay. Okay. I did 82, which the Red Sox were in the hunt, but not really in real life. And they didn't play all that well in my replay. 78 We all know about 1978. They didn't even come close to finishing one game back. I think they finished 12 or 13. I think Cleveland beat them in the standings. I mean, the Red Sox not even close.
Wow.
So one of the reasons why I picked 49 was to avenge history. I needed that one more game to get past the Yankees, and that would have given Ted Williams and those another shot at a World Series. Well, on the 1st of June, they're 9 games out of first place.
Ooh.
Now, it's not impossible. We've only played a quarter of the season, but Joe DiMaggio only played half a year, and it was the second half of the year for the Yankees.
Oh, wow.
And so the Yankees are playing .660 ball without Joe DiMaggio. And DiMaggio had a pretty good 49. So whatever benefit the Red Sox might have had in the first half of the year is gone.
Yep, bye-bye.
I actually should go look to see what their standings were. I might actually be encouraged that they might have been 7 or 8 back at this point. Okay, we can make a race of it. Or were they 6 or 7 ahead?
Right.
Oh, yeah. Just so whatever it is, thanks, Dave Cook. I appreciate this an awful lot. Why you hate Boston so much? Anyway, so I've been doing that. We pulled up the hockey again. We'll do that on some Sunday afternoons, or if Gardner wants to dress up like Wimpy again, maybe a couple Saturday night hockey night in Canada specials, because that's just the way he rolls. And so that's fun. And one of the reasons why we picked the topic, I did a pre-play for the Super Bowl Saturday night. I also picked up, and haven't quite done a race with yet, there's been a couple patches to Top of the Stretch.
Okay.
Since the initial one. And I purchased the best horses of the aughts, the first decade of the 21st century.
Oh, wow.
Which really is about roughly 500 horses. And so you can assemble those into a season if you so wish. So it's Barbaro and Minette Bird and a couple of horses that had a chance at the Triple Crown but failed at the Belmont. So you can pretty much assemble what you want. I mean, that's the great thing about that game. So, but we've been kind of busy and tired. This is streaming a game tonight, so this will be 6 nights of streams, or 6 days of streaming in a row with one more to go. The other thing I bought for non-sports games, I got a game called NIMBY Rails. And we both have a friend that lives in Connecticut that is a rail nut.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, he is trying to start a show talking to rail photographer enthusiasts.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I think I saw that, yeah.
And so, which is awesome. I wish that Vermont actually had active rail lines, which would mean Sarah would stand there and go, is that train passing through yet? No, come on. We're having fun, aren't we? I'm going to shut this camera where? And Becky, it's exit only. Anyway, so you could either do this as with $1 billion fake dollars or shut off the money. It's the ultimate sandbox. And so you can design passenger rail lines anywhere in the world. And I'm literally, the download was the entire open street access world map with rail lines removed. So if you want to turn North Korea capitalist and design your own Pyongyang line, you could. So a game is in early access. I probably will do a video over the weekend. Just endless possibilities of what you can do. Like I said, you can do it with loans and try to make your money back, which is tough because you need to start. The paradox is you start in cities that it costs a lot of money to build, but if you do it in the smaller towns, you'll never get enough revenue to pay off the loan. Or you just do it like I do. It's just a sandbox.
Kind of like a Sim City where you can either play it the right way or just take all the money you want and just go to town. Right.
And so it's not going to be a game for everybody. Not even close, but I'm enjoying it. It really is, and because I'm into that sort of thing. Because it would be kind of cool if we actually had real commuter lines here in Vermont. And you don't have to worry about service. You can worry about charging too much. You don't have to worry about whether the train driver quits or anything like that. It's just about building and creating and using your head. And so I've really enjoyed
Sandboxes are fun. I like when I get a game.
It's in early access, and I think I paid $17 for it.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. I mean, you do kind of have to be into trains to enjoy it.
Right.
But it's kind of like a lot of the sports games, Dave. It's a one-man operation. And he's open to suggestions. And, I mean, obviously we won't have him on the show because it's really not the focus of the show. But yeah.
I took a train one time from Boston all the way to Florida. And we met some people down in, I don't know if it was Maryland or Virginia or something like that. And they threw their car on the train. And
it's from just south of D.C. down to
D.C., yeah, that's what we took the Express or the Accela or whatever it was from Boston down to D.C., hooked up with those guys, and then we went down to Florida. And it was fun. Having dinner on the train was fun.
Yes, very old-timey thingy.
You know, we're sitting there, and they dim the lights, and you could...
comfortable was it sleep?
Yeah, sleeping was very difficult because the thing was rocking. And then all of a sudden at 2 a.m. they stopped and must have changed shifts. And it took over an hour or so for them to do this. And so you were rocking and rocking and rocking for all these hours, you know what I mean? And then you stop. You know, and it's like, now I can't sleep because I'm not moving, you know. And then it picked up again, and so I was pretty tired when I got there. I really didn't sleep more than an hour or two on the train. But dinner was fun. You have the dinner; they serve it to you while you're just sitting down there, you know. And it would stop it, you know. You could see people, you know, while you were eating your dinner. It was kind of neat, actually. You know, I don't think I'd want to do it again, and you know, unless I took like one of those scenic trails across the country, that would be kind of fun. And then you could have something to look at, you know. But it was kind of neat, just kind of chilling out on a train. Because you can walk. It's not like an airplane where you're stuck. You can walk around, and you can go into the dinner car. You can go to the drink car. You can go back to your room. You can just go into the main community area.
Daytime and just watch the country go by.
Yeah. You know, it was nice, and we had some rum and coke, and we were playing cribbage, and it was just kind of fun.
Yeah, that's the perfect thing for it.
Yeah, it was a good time.
So that's what I've been playing.
All right. So should we move into the topic of the day?
Yes.
All righty. So let's talk a little bit about the Super Bowl, talk about pre-plays, tribute games, and things like that. First off, boy, I was wrong. So was I. I was taking Chiefs, and I was taking over. I did not think there was any way whatsoever that you could stop Mahomes. I had a funny feeling it was going to be high 30s to low 20s. It was going to be an easy double-digit win, and that's where my money was going, just from what I saw out of the playoffs. Little did we know how banged up the offensive line was for the Chiefs and how, well, they didn't adapt very well to that. No. And you know, and when people start talking about the injuries, yep, that played a part in it. But, you know, there's a lot of Super Bowls that a lot of people didn't play in because of injuries. You know, I remember Jeremy Shockey didn't play in one of the Super Bowls and the Giants beat the Patriots. I remember Gronkowski didn't play in a Super Bowl because he was injured. And you can't just sit there and cry that so-and-so's not playing. You got to adapt. And it didn't seem like the Chiefs adapted. They could have run some draws. They could have run some wide receiver screens. And instead they said, no, we're just going to run our normal game plan, and Mahomes will run around until somebody gets open. And that didn't quite work, you know?
No, not even close. It kind of was the topic of the show, was to talk about, you know, what happened, because a lot of us, you know, it's the one game I think everyone that does plays that wants to does a pre-play of it. You know, if you're a football fan, if you're a modern football fan, you're familiar with both the teams anyway. It really was, it was maybe not as good of a matchup as Kansas City and Green Bay would have been, but geez, you got, you know, Brady, who is in the running for best quarterback of all time if he's not already there, and Mahomes, who's the best quarterback in football today. And so here's a duel. You know, you kind of expected it to be high scoring. Vegas, I believe, had the over-under at 57.
Yeah.
And so you're thinking it's going to be high scoring. And Dave and I talked the night of the conference championship games and going, Kansas City's only a 4-point favorite, because I was with you. We watched what they did to Buffalo and and Tampa nearly give that game back to Green Bay, and going, Kansas City will wipe the floor with them. What do you mean it's only a 3.5 to 4-point favorite. Well, they kind of knew what they were talking about as Vegas. Vegas is not in the business of losing money.
I was really surprised at that, because I was off doing some other things, and I was chatting with you for a while, and then I was doing something else, and I wasn't really glued to the game, so to speak. And then I turned it back in, and I was like, wow, 28-3 or 28-6 or something like that. I was like, this is not right. And I turned in to watch. I was like, wow, it was just ugly. The Kansas City was not Kansas City, and Mahomes made some unbelievable throws while under duress, and these guys, it was hitting them in the face.
There was a couple there.
There's at least 2 touchdowns they could have had, and they both were dropped. So Kansas City just didn't show up to play. And okay, you can talk about the referees all day long, but be quite honest. Every single game it's the referees, and sometimes you get the calls, and sometimes you don't.
When Mateo got in Brady's face at the end of the first half after Tampa scored a touchdown, I knew it was over. Kansas City, despite being defending Super Bowl champions, weren't ready for that game.
You wonder if there is the Super Bowl hangover where they go a second time and they're a little full of themselves, and maybe they don't take quite as serious as the year before when they won it, because they're like, oh, here we are again. We're back again.
It was the first time since high school that Mahomes didn't have a touchdown.
Yeah, isn't that nuts?
Which is absolutely insane. It just shows you just how good he is. Mm-hmm. But I think it's the first time we've ever had a Super Bowl at somebody's home field. The Rams that year don't count. That was at the Rose Bowl, so they still had to travel around. So you got to sleep in your own bed for 2 weeks.
Well, I heard the NFL wanted to fix that. They said that to ensure that nobody would ever get home field advantage again, they were going to play all the Super Bowls in Dallas.
I like that.
I thought that was a funny one.
That was a good one. You had me there for a second because I'm trying to think as you're setting that up. I'm going, well, how would they move the Super Bowl on 2 weeks' notice?
Yeah, well, that's the thing is that what are they supposed to do? It's like, oh, we can't have the home team playing. We're going to move it. No, it's usually a southern or a western place. We know it's not going to be New England because if it ever was, they would have played at home most likely if they did it back then. Occasionally you get Minnesota or Detroit in there, one of the domes up there. But, it's just weird that in 55 attempts we haven't had a home team in the Super Bowl. New Orleans, they get them every 3 or 4 years. And then,
well, they were terrible for years.
And they finally get in and they didn't play at home. Houston, the same thing, and Dallas and the whole bit. So, yeah, this just kind of happened.
Yeah, just once every 55 years, whether you need to or not. So it just struck me as I watched it, it's like they weren't Kansas City wasn't ready for this.
Yeah.
And maybe it's Super Bowl hangover, or there didn't seem to be a big change in game plan or whatever it was. But as far as I'm concerned, Tampa Bay legitimately beat this team 16 ways to Sunday. And I think you just got to tip your hat.
This when Kansas City snapped the ball, it was just Mahomes went back. And there's the difference, I think, in experience between the Brady and the Mahomes is Brady would either just throw it at the guy's feet or find somebody really quick. Mahomes was trying to extend the play like Fran Tarkenton. He looked like Fran Tarkenton out there, just running for his life and going back 30 yards and then heaving it up. And it's just, it didn't really work for Fran Tarkenton that well in Super Bowls, and it didn't work for Mahomes that well in Super Bowls. Nope. And I think with some experience, maybe he would check down a little bit or maybe run a draw play or a wide receiver screen. Yeah, and I think he will. And I think that's probably the best thing for him is to take this beating, put his ego in check a little bit and realize, well, we made it all the way back. We get destroyed. And maybe he refocuses now and becomes a better quarterback because of it.
I think the tough thing is that once you reach that mountaintop and win it all, you think you're immediately about to do it again.
Yeah.
But, even though he doesn't strike me as someone who's full of himself. You don't have to have a healthy ego to be an NFL quarterback.
I think he does have a little bit one. He's a young guy. He's had a lot of success, as you talked about in his career. A lot
of success, yeah.
And now he suffers his real first setback, and he's just, no touchdowns. We got destroyed in the Super Bowl. Wow, this is something else. There was a neat little graphic I saw somebody posted, and it was, I think it was the guy from Seattle. Was that Wilson?
Russell Wilson, yeah.
Wilson went to a Super Bowl won one, lost one, went back and lost to Brady. And Mahomes is doing the same thing. It's like he his first year was this, his second year was Super Bowl, his third year was the Super Bowl, lost to Brady. And there were three quarterbacks, and I forget the third one. There were three quarterbacks that in their second year won the Super Bowl, and in the third year went back to Super Bowl and lost to Brady. So it just seems like everybody loses a Super Bowl to Brady, at some point.
Well, Brady now has more rings than any other franchise.
Is that nuts? Just think about that for a second. Like him or not, it's remember when he had 4? He's got as many as Montana. You know what I mean? Or Bradshaw, all those guys. And now he's got more than any team does.
I mean, he came into that game playing in more Super Bowls than any franchise not named New England.
They said he's played in 18% of the Super Bowls. I mean, that's just the longevity of it and the success of it is just, it's scary.
It's incredible, and he at least has one more year. He said he wasn't retiring, and he didn't look like anybody that was this wasn't Peyton Manning's Super Bowl win in Denver, when he was just throwing wounded ducks and whatever. I mean, Brady was in full command of his game.
Yeah, he didn't do bad at all. He had his dinks and his dunks down and his reads and his progressions and the whole bit. As you can hear my dog barking upstairs. That's what he does when we record. So, but anyway, yeah. So that was it was a very interesting game. It didn't go the way I thought it did. I'm happy, for Brady. I'm a Brady guy, And so so he's not with New England, but he did his time in New England. I think him and Bill just needed to go their own ways and do their own thing. And, I mean, 20 years, 6 Super Bowls, it's a long time. It really is. It really is, and I think he did his time.
Yep.
So, anyway, so let's get on and talk about some pre-plays and some tribute games. Okay. No, I know you did one.
Did the pre-play. Yeah, I mean, our friend Al did, I think, 4, 5. He did several in Pro Strategy Football. He did one in Second and 10, and he did one in Action PC, I believe.
Yep.
For that. And so, yes, it's common because you have this 2-week break, and by the time that we hit that, most of the games, at least the PC games, have released a version of the playoffs or the season. And so it's an easy one to play, and you know what's going on. So I did mine the night before the Super Bowl. I used Pro Strategy Football 2021. Mike from the truck, who does all of the mods for most of the mods for that, had it out, I believe, before the conference championship games. And so we fired that up and played, and Kansas City beat them rather handily. But the one thing that the engine picked up on that certainly happened during the Super Bowl was that Kansas City made a lot of sloppy penalties in my pre-play, which came to fruition, I think, during the game. Is that there was the most penalties ever in a half by any team in Super Bowl history, and Mike's version of 2020 picked that up. And so that was one thing I noticed. The other one was it kind of forecasted that the game would be rather dour and defensive. I think my final score was 60-10 Kansas City.
Oh, it was really low. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and so one of the things that we noticed is, because when you pre-play, you obviously don't know what the result's going to be. But on the other hand, when you do kind of like something that is a specific event, Chamberlain's 100-point game, U.S. Soviets 1980, Hank Aaron beating Babe Ruth's home run record, yada, 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 you rarely, if ever, get what you were trying to replicate on the dot.
Yeah, that's where I think a pre-play, you have a little advantage over a tribute game because you don't know the results yet.
Right, you don't. And so I know last year when I did Kansas City and San Francisco in 2nd and 10. I know that engine fairly well, and I forgot who. I think Kansas City won in my pre-play. Someone will go back and correct me if I'm wrong.
I think they did.
But because I knew how the engine worked, it gave me a good indication of what to watch for when I actually watched the game, because I don't watch a lot of pro football anymore. So it certainly made my enjoyment of the real game better, because I kind of knew how both the teams played, because I know how to read those cards and all that. So that was kind of cool. did it this year in Pro Strategy Football, and so I knew a little bit more about Kansas City because I watched all their playoff games and such, and Tampa's Brady. You know, if you know what Brady's capable of doing. So pre-play I suppose is easier. If you don't get it right, no one really cares.
But I think that the difficult thing about a pre-play, though, is you have to make sure, obviously, you have the most modern season, you know, because when you're doing tribute games, I mean, you know, you're going back in time, and there's a lot of games that have those seasons available. Some of the games here don't always have the current season available to do a pre-play. Right. You know, so you're kind of limited as to what game you want to use. Now, I did mine with Game-Winning Drive by Downey. And they had just sent me the Super Bowl team, so I said, well, I'm going to do it up here. So I did a pre-play game-winning drive Super Bowl, you know, Kansas City, Tampa Bay with game-winning drive, and it was actually quite a fun game. But what surprised me though is when I did the numbers out, Tampa Bay actually had more favorable numbers for scoring than Kansas City. And that kind of shocked me because Kansas City was the favorite. Kansas City was, what were they, 14-2, and Tampa Bay was 9-5 or something like that. What, you know, or 10-5. I forget what they were, but
they were 7-5 going into the Kansas City game and didn't lose the rest of the way.
Okay, so they would have been
11-5 in the regular season.
Okay, so 11-5. So Kansas City was 14-2, I think they were. So they were 3 games better. In game-winning drive, I think Tampa Bay had more chances to score than Kansas City, according to dice rolls. And that's what I was kind of shocked when I set it up. Scoring, let's say it was 11-25 for Kansas City. It was 11-31 for Tampa Bay. So they had 2 more rolls to score, which I thought was kind of weird. And my pre-play was really fun. It went back and forth. In the second half, Kansas City rolled 2 11s. They returned 2 kickoffs to touchdowns.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, not one, but they got 2 kickoff returns for touchdowns because I rolled 11 twice on a kickoff return. They did miss an extra point, though, and that cost them because Tampa Bay drove down and got a game-tying field goal in the last drive of regulation. So we went into overtime in my pre-play, 34-34, and Kansas City won the toss. They missed a field goal. Buccaneers punted, and on Kansas City's second drive in overtime, they got a touchdown. I think I don't know if it was a run or a pass, but they won 40-34 in overtime in my pre-play, and that was kind of fun. So that was my result of the pre-play. The thing about a pre-play, though, when we talked about doing our pre-plays, is like what happened in the Super Bowl where the offensive line was so banged up for Kansas City that you can't really replicate that in your replay.
No, I've done 2 World Series preplays as well. Same thing. I'm not even sure I got the team right either time. No, I got Washington, I think, to beat Houston.
But it's just, if someone's out, I mean, maybe you're aware of it, maybe you're not, but I mean, how do you put that into the game?
Exactly, or the line, or if someone gets hot in baseball in the league divisional series, they might have had Kyle Schwarber a few years ago for the Cubs when they won the World Series. Was injured most of the regular season. You could never, and he hit like gangbusters in the playoffs. Well, he's not going to be carded for his playoff performance. He's going to be carded for his regular season performance, where he might have had 100 at-bats and hit 160 or whatever it was that particular year. The Super Bowl example, Timmy Smith for the Redskins 1,000 years ago when he ran for over 200 against Denver. I mean, he was a third-string running back for Washington that year. I mean, you can't do that. Or what you were about to say is, if the tackles are hurt for a team, yes, in some games that matters, and you can use the backups for that and maybe get it if you know. But unless you are a really tight football fan or a super huge Chiefs fan, I didn't know that until one of the sideline reporters said it at the start of the broadcast.
I didn't realize it was that bad. I heard that one of their offensive linemen was out, but I didn't realize that they had 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 starters that were out, and they were rotating backups and guys playing odd positions, and I had no idea. But that's something that can't be replicated, again, unless you're really on top of it.
Unless you really know what it is, yeah.
And I don't know how I would do that in a game like Game-Winning Drive. How would you go and simulate it?
You wouldn't, because it's an aggregate game. It's not it's matchup of individuals. It's a matchup of teams.
I suppose if you had in a game like Pro Strategy Football or Action PC, that maybe you could make players ineligible or put in backups. Maybe if you
could do it in Action PC, I'm sure you could in Pro Strategy Football. But at Action PC, you could. Yes.
So, I mean, I imagine if you really wanted to get that creative, you could try to do that. But, game like Game-Winning Drive or Final Score Football, something like that, I don't think you could.
There were a few Pro Strategy. I mean, Al and his Pro Strategy Football replays or pre-plays, Tampa won them. In fact, I think one he had pretty darn close to what the final result was.
One of them was I saw a lot of Kansas City winning a lot of pre-plays. One because they won mine, and there's a lot of other people that did them, and Kansas City was kind of taking the pre-plays, and there was one I saw they won by 10. I think that might have been, I don't know if that was 2nd and 10 that he did, that Kansas City won by 10, but there was one that Al did that Kansas City won by 10, I thought.
Okay. And again, that's not an indictment against the game engine if it completely misses on there. It's, look, one of the things that you can do in Pro Strategy Football is simulate something 1,000 times. Mm-hmm. And so when I did that 1,000 times on a neutral field, and Kansas City won 680 times. And by an average, and so I think the computer made them, based on that, they were a 4-point favorite, which I believe is the spread was 3.5. Mm-hmm. 3.5, 4, depending on what book you were going to. And so that seemed pretty realistic to me, but as any time that you draw a penalty when you shouldn't on a D-rated defender and strat hockey, or try to steal with 85% in Action PC and you get thrown out, it's 68, it's not 100. And so certainly it's possible for Tampa to win, and that's what happened in the real game. And so you might look at that, you might buy the game such as Pro Strategy Football knowing that it's $20 and all that, thinking, well, I did this and then this is what happened in real life. Well, the other thing, especially with football, is that there's not, baseball you play 162 times and most players have between 500 and 700 actions where you can draw data. In football, it's a 16-game season. Mm-hmm. So the margin of error, I mean, you can get close to it, but there's going to be a considerable margin of error as far as individual game results, unless you're playing the 76 Bucks and the 76 Steelers, which you've done. I mean, it's not. I mean, the difference between a 10 and 6 team and a 6 and 10 team is literally 4 points. Mm-hmm. So that makes it kind of difficult when you show off something or play it and like, oh no, this wasn't even close. Well,
and the other thing is when you're playing a pre-play of that season, sometimes doesn't Dave Cook, doesn't he release like a
I believe he does projections.
Yeah. So if you're trying to play the Super Bowl there, you might be playing with projections rather than actuals. You know what I mean?
Right.
So next year they'll come out with that year, and that might be a better replay. Is after that game's been played and all the games been fed in, and they spit out that season. So there's usually like a year delay for some of these things on a lot of games. So again, if you have the projections or the previews, you have to wonder, you got to take that into account, Yep. So you can't blame the game for that, because this is kind of, okay, this is what we think, and then maybe when they have the actuals come out, you might get a different result, I know
that Pro Strategy Football was rated after the season was over. So I don't know how much linemen had to do with that, or if linemen were healthy enough, but it was based on the full 2020 regular season. Again, regular season and playoffs are two different animals.
Yeah.
And they're trying to get something right based on that. I mean, I did the pre-play of the Stanley Cup playoffs and had St. Louis repeat, and St. Louis got beat in the first round or something like that. That was just nasty. So you just never know with those things. To go back to tribute games, I mean, when Henry Aaron died, I let the audience choose what I did for the tribute game. And what they chose was the night he broke Babe Ruth's record, April 8th, 1974. And so going in that the chances that, he's going to get maybe 4 at-bats. And the chances of him hitting a one home run a game, maybe 1 in 4. If he hit 40 home runs, I think he hit 25 and played 130 games. So do the math on that. The chances of actually breaking the record the night that we want him to break the record is slim. And I believe he went 1 for 4 and got into a double play and struck out, which is not what you want. But again, when you go through and say, I want to do this, or Sandy Koufax's 15 strikeout performance against the Yankees in Game 1 of the '63 World Series, just pick something. Bobby Orr scoring in overtime to sweep the Blues in the '70 finals. The chances of that happening are small.
Do you think there's a lot of disappointment to be had when you do a tribute game because you're expecting the guest of honor to do something spectacular, and there's no guarantee that spectacular event's going to happen?
You can seed it, I guess, somewhat. Sometimes what I do is in baseball, I go to that player's best season and then go to what the computer says was their best game, which is easier to do if you're a starting pitcher because there's a game score, a stat called a game score. And so because I do real lineups, that they dominated this particular team in real life. It's harder to do for a hitter because when you play 150, 160 times a year, you could go off pretty much on anybody. I mean, you can seed it a little bit, but or other things. And the night that I did Tom Seaver's tribute game was either the championship clincher against the Cubs it was one hitter. And he was cruising right along for 4 innings, and in the 5th he got lit up. And then he pitched well the last 2 innings he was in the game. And so, because your expectation is that you're going to get Tom Seaver from July of 1969 when the Mets vanquished the Cubs and roll on, or the one I did for Kobe Bryant where he nearly fouled out in the 3rd quarter because he had a hell of a game that, in real life, that particular game. And no, 6 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, and 5 fouls in 18 minutes. Great. Wonderful. Yeah.
See, that's why I've never replayed the 1980 Olympics, USA Hockey Olympics.
You'd be hard pressed to get them
because
Soviets or the Finns for that matter. If you did the gold medal game against Finland. I mean,
have I done something with it of some sort in the past? I think I have, but I've never sat down and said, okay, we're going to replay this and we're going to see if we can win. No, because it's probably not going to happen, and you're going to be disappointed that you end up with Russia versus like I say, Finland or Sweden or something, and a lot of guys you never heard of, and the USA is probably going to bow out early because they're just not weighted for that. It was a miracle, and are you going to roll another miracle, on your dice table? Chances are not, you know what I mean? So that's one I've stayed away from. I should try to check it out at some point just to see how I do. It might be kind of fun to check that out. The one that I have the most fun with, obviously, if you listen to the show, the 72 Summit Series. That's the one that I have the most fun with, and I find that to be a very even series.
Yes.
With Canada, Russia. So that's been one I've enjoyed quite a bit playing. But I haven't done many of the tribute games. I mean, there's been a couple I've done. And, the same thing. It's like you really got high hopes going in to showcase this particular player, and it's a humdrum type of game. And it's just, that didn't go very well.
Once in a while I've gotten it right, but more often than not, I mean, again, you can see the deck. Don Shula lost his tribute game.
Yeah.
72 Dolphins lost that Super Bowl. It was a one-score game in real life. You really can't say the Dolphins dominated it. Mm-hmm. Now, Yepremian didn't throw any interceptions for a pick six like what happened in the real game. But you can't tell me that in a 21-point game, and the final score was 14-7, that the Redskins didn't have a chance. Mm-hmm. If you shut down the running game, which is all what Miami was that particular year, you can win with them. Is it realistic? Well, tell me what wouldn't be realistic would be if the Redskins beat them 38-0.
Right, yeah.
It wouldn't be realistic if any of those quarterbacks threw the ball 45, 50 times. That's not realistic. You got to come back to, but whatever it is that you saw is plausible. Now, in a replay, anything's plausible because you're just taking that reality and chucking it out the window. Even if you just did a straight stock as played replay like I do for my seasons, for the baseball seasons, it really doesn't matter because once you introduce the computer or dice and lineups, even if you use real lineups, it's all different. It's all different. You know, you can say that, yes, the Red Sox should have won 100 games. Now, if they only win 60, that's maybe not realistic, but it's all different. And I think people can rationalize that if they're rolling the dice or they're playing the games and they see a different result come out. But it's so much tougher in a one-off because you expect to see Gale Sayers score the 6 touchdowns, Bobby Orr score the winning goal, Aaron hit the home run, Larson throw a decent game against the Dodgers or whatever it is. And it just, depending on the event, it's almost impossible to replicate.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that you stop doing them because that player deserves to have some sort of tribute paid to him. And those games really aren't about the final score, all that. It's just spending 45 minutes remembering a certain person. But on the other hand,
if you could get something close to what really happened, it would be really cool.
It would be very difficult to do because of all the variabilities. Because the computer, although it can spit out all the information from Retro Sheet or Baseball Reference or Hockey Reference, it's not taking one to feed the other.
Mm-hmm.
It's spitting out what it is. And of course, if you're doing a one-off of a full season replay, it's looking at what the player did over the course of an entire season.
Right, yeah.
And not just one particular game.
Yeah, because you could pick one game in the season and you don't know what you're going to get with that game.
You could go through and do a Montreal-Hartford game from December of 1985, and, okay, you might get Montreal to win that one 8-2, and you're looking at, like, oh, Hartford won that one 5-4. And so it's just there's a bit of randomness to it. And again, you don't want to be in the business of where you're trying to doctor. There's one game I stopped. I was taping it and restarted. It was Don Sutton. Again, seeded to find his best start and what Baseball Reference said was his best year, just to try to get him to pitch well. I mean, when you're doing a tribute game, you want the person of honor to play well. That's the point of doing it. And the first take of that, it was 4-0 San Francisco in the first inning. Like, who the heck's going to want to watch that?
Yeah, right.
But it's like, nope, we're going to stop. We do it again. I think I made a point of saying that this was a second take on it. Sutton goes and like throws a 2 or 3 hitter. He actually gave me what I was after.
Oh, good. Here's a question for you. What do you think would be the best sport to do a tribute with, meaning that you may get the results that you're looking for or trying to achieve? And what do you think the worst or the hardest sport is to do a tribute game on, meaning that the chances of you getting something good for your guest of honor is really slim? Of all the sport, I mean, the 4 majors, boxing, tennis, everything here. In your experience, what do you think would be, the most accurate chance for a tribute game or a tribute whatever, and the least chances of getting?
I think baseball would be the least.
Okay.
Because any team can win on any given day. And so let's say you have, I think Reddy Ford lost his tribute game. Again, picked best season, best start of that particular season. And, over a 3-game series, all you got to do is take one and you're winning 33% of the time. That makes you about 110 loss team. But, if you win 1 out of every 3, you're doing it. And so it really doesn't matter. I think football technically might be the easiest, because if you're going through, okay, what was Roger Staubach's best game of the 1978 season? Oh, he shredded the Colts, who were 2-12 for 400 yards in the year. Okay, the Colts were terrible. He's going to be able to beat up on the Colts just for that basic thing, as opposed to, I suppose if everything goes wrong, you'd lose. But it's easier, I think, in a one-off like that. Now, if a championship game, I don't think any of them are easy, because you're playing against somebody that's really good. I mean, look at Super Bowl III. Everyone thought that the Colts were going to wipe the floor with the Jets, or the Super Bowl where the Rams played the Patriots that first time, that was going to be a mopping of the floor. Well, it didn't happen. And so I think you get more of that with football. I think it's easier with football. I haven't really done enough tribute games in basketball or hockey, because I think for hockey, if you wanted to say, you really don't want Gretzky, if you were to do a tribute game for him for, let's say we did something for his 60th birthday a couple of weeks ago, you're not going to simulate the Mickey Mouse game against the Devils, because Edmonton's going to win that 19-2 or whatever it is.
I did play that in shootout hockey one time, and the Devils almost won that game.
Yeah. You're going to pick a game against either the Kings or Edmonton or Calgary. And for those years, those were pretty even teams. And yeah, Gretzky's going to get his goal and 3 assists or 4 assists, but they might lose the game 6-5. And so people are going to go, yeah, you lost your tribute game. Or for baseball pitcher, okay, here we picked this one out because you threw a no-hitter or a one-hitter, or you struck out 15 or whatever. Well, no, I mean, I'll go back to the Koufax game. And we did game 1 of the 63 series against the Yankees. I struck out 14 or 15 and held them to 3 hits or whatever. Well, the Yankees weren't a World Series team by accident, and so the computer doesn't care about play lineups and that. It's going to go, yep, Mantle and Maris and Howard are going to beat the crap out of you. And you play that game 10 times, and Koufax probably dominates in 2. But you don't want to be in the position where you're doing multiple takes on a game to get a desired result. You don't do that for anything else. Mm-hmm. You play the chips as it lies. I mean, once in a while, we all get kind of pissy and go, gave up 5 in the first. Screw that. We'll play this when I'm awake or when I want to play it. Bang, and then go back. And at the second time, if you lose, then at least you know that you lost. That's how I do it. But you try to play the games as honest and upfront as you can. And if you get a bad result, you get a bad result. And so, yeah, I would say football, because you're going to play a matchup that may not be, if you look at greatest game as opposed to greatest accomplishment, you're going to pick a game where you're going to be playing a worse opponent, as opposed to, to be honest, I didn't want to play the 7-15 game. I knew he wasn't going to be able to do it. I mean, there's a chance he always could, and it'd be great if it did. There was a game I picked from the 71 season where he hit 2 homers and drove in 6 off of Steve Carlton. And he had a much better chance of doing that than he did trying to hit one.
Well, I guess that's the fun of it is can this guy hit that home run to break the record while I play it? Can he score the goal or throw the touchdown pass to break the record? I guess that if it would happen, it would be really neat if it did.
It is really cool when it does happen. But there was a sense of satisfaction when Sutton shut down the Giants that second time through, because, yes, that's what happened in real life. I suppose first game you went to, you could replay that. And, it's bringing back memories of what you smelled and what you ate and who you went with and what you drank. And at the right age, you really don't care if said team won or not. You get to spend an hour or so remembering what you were doing on that day, as opposed to, again, if you were gung-ho about the 80 Olympic team, or you when you did the Summit Series, Game 8, you came up with a much better story. Canada collapsing in the third period, which would have even been more memorable than Henderson pulling their butts out of the fire to win it. And so once in a while you get that, but again, it's kind of like Wheel of Fortune. There may be that $5,000 wedge on the wheel, or that $10,000 split between that bankrupt, so you could hit it. But you might lose a turn at the same time, if that makes any sense.
Yep, it does. So we want to hear about your experiences doing pre-plays or tribute games. What are some of the things that you run into, both good and bad, when doing that? And so let's wrap things up here.
Yep.
By the numbers, this has been episode 75, the Diamond episode, according to Mr. Ron. So anyway, ways to get a hold of us, digitaltodice.com is our website. If you'd like to email us, digitaltodice@yahoo.com is how you can get a hold of us. The Dice line, 978-751-DICE, 978-751-3423. If you want to send us a message, over on Facebook, facebook.com/groups/digitaltodice. And we're lining up some more guests for future shows. We got some really good guests lined up, and we've already had some really good guests on the show. And so, but anyway, any final thoughts?
No, this was fun, as usual. And don't let it stop you from doing that sort of thing. Again, gaming is such a personal experience. It's all about remembering who you liked. And so don't be worried so much about the result. It's all about the journey, I think, and things like this.
Yep, try to enjoy the game, knowing you probably are not going to get the results you were hoping for. Or at least, whatever you were doing this for, you know what I mean? That could be a possibility. But again, I still enjoy it because not everybody won every game, like you said, Mm-hmm. So anyway, all right. I'm Dave.
I'm Ron.
Talk to everybody later.
Bye-bye.